we had about 1.5 million new people that came to our state or were born here between the census of 2000 and the census of 2010. We're a fast-growing state, and we truly are at that 10 million rate, a 10 million population now, based on growth that's occurred even since the last census. We had been a state, like many states, that had been the hard-on-crime approach with very little flexibility built into the system. We recognized, if you were objective about the issue, that we were not achieving the results that people expected. When we had in our adult population 1 out of every 13 Georgians being under some form of correctional supervision, and 1 out of every 3 inmates who was paroled from our prison system returning to that system in 3 years, what we were doing was not the right thing. It did not keep us safe, and it did not certainly save taxpayers' money. Just as $18,000 is a lot of money, as I said to Ed Schrader the other day at a program, how would you like to have $18,000 for 60,000 people to provide education? You could do a lot of good things for that. On the juvenile side, it's even worse. It is about $90,000 for a bed for a year for a juvenile. And we're not having the success rate that we even have in the adult community. One out of every 3 adults comes back in 3 years. It was 1 out of every 2 in the juvenile arena that's coming back into the system. And many times when they return to the system, they return as adult offenders at that point in time. So the creation of courts of accountability for adult offenders, the creation of community-based settings in which young people can receive treatment and attention, I think all of those are the right things to do. And we are currently in negotiations with the Provost Charter School for consideration of their going into our juvenile justice facilities so that they can provide the kind of tailored educational delivery that digital learning allows you to do so that young people can catch up with where they ought to be and eventually, if they have to stay there that long, eventually get a high school diploma as well. A few other areas in the area of education, and that is digital learning task force that has been created. We have great expectations to come out of that. We believe that it will transform the way we educate so that teachers become facilitators, utilizing digital learning and taking advantage of those who are the real experts to bring them into any classroom in the state of Georgia, no matter where that classroom is located, to allow them to be exposed to the kind of education that will improve their lives. And that's what we're working on. The question is, would the state consider the dredging of the Savannah Harbor without the federal funds? I would have to say yes, that is something that we would have to give consideration to. Preferably, we would like to keep the federal government to its promise that was made in 1999 when the initial legislation was put in place, that it was a 70-30 split, the 30 being our part. And we are virtually at that amount now, even with the increased cost as it is now figured. We are virtually at what we would be expected to pay. But there have been several impediments to that. One of those being that the federal statute that authorized this project, that 1999 statute, set a cap of what the expenditure could be. It is what's technically referred to as a 902B issue. There is language, I am told, in the Senate version of the Werder bill that will be considered by the Senate very soon that will fix that problem, because that becomes the technical impediment that would keep us from being able to move forward even with our own money. I have been blessed with a good working relationship with Mayor Reed, and I am fortunate to have that. I think it is good for the citizens of Atlanta, and I know it's good for the citizens of the state of Georgia. We do not need to be alienated from our capital city. Well, I think our needs and the problems that are associated with our state are the same problems that are associated most every state. And that is, if you have some 12 million people who are undocumented and are in our presence, we are responsible for providing education to their children. As long as we have birthright citizenship in place, their children that are born here are given full benefits to all of our services. So we already are bearing the cost of those associated social benefits, but we still do not have a real handle on dealing with someone who is not here legally. Quite frankly, we are being pleasantly surprised by the growth and the projected growth of the film, the television, the movies, commercials, the whole work. And I think the significant thing now is that we are building an employee base of the support people. Now, we may still get the big actors that come out of somewhere else, California or New York or whatever, but if they start looking at it, they're gonna come our way too. But if we can have the sound people, the stage people, the electricians, all of the other support people that they need as residents of Georgia, ready to go to work and available to do so, then that becomes a huge inducement for them to actually come our way.